So mic's good. Everything's good on mine. Oh.
You seem good.
Well, now you're live. Now we were just doing a mic check.
I can see up your nose, but
oh yeah, I can see up your nose.
Up your nose.
You know what's really interesting is you have a really well manicured beard.
Thank you. I trimmed it myself.
Yeah. Oh, we're live.
Oh.
Oops. Oh man, we're live. Hey, hi guys. It's Primetime.
Hi.
Check this out. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Hi, nerds.
Hi, nerds. How you doing, guys? It's prime time.
Is everybody recovered from the NAMMs?
Yeah, I didn't even have to go.
Mine didn't either.
Yeah. Did you go, Dylan?
I was there.
Yeah, I went on Saturday.
You went to the NAMMs?
Yeah. Did you go, Rich? You were there, Rich?
NAMM. I did. I was actually invited to go, believe it or not. They didn't want me to stay home.
Oh.
Why?
How about that?
Did you have business to do there? You got to see Paulie Tobias. He's over here talking
Tobias.
about. He was over here talking about. He's like, hold on, I saw this thing. Hold on. Next year for NAMM. Oh yeah, NAMM was outstanding.
He says almost 50,000 people. The last time I went to the NAMMs, which would have been 2020, there was like 120,000 people. So 50,000 sounds way better.
Hey, Paul, you're like a farmer, outstanding in your field. Zing! I did a dad joke, Rich.
In honor of Rich.
No, that joke was not in honor of me.
What was that? That was in honor of something. What was it?
Your honor, Your Honor. Okay.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Was Taylor at NAMM? That's a good question, Paul. I wasn't there.
Yeah. Taylor was at NAMM, and Bob was there. Kurt was there. Andy was there. We were in force.
In full force. We just had a small presence, right?
Just a small presence, but thanking all the dealers for being there, and we had a good time.
NAMM was, as I understand it, a much smaller affair this year. So,
well, our big event was the custom event,
which I've seen some photos of those guitars and some cool YouTube videos. I saw the acoustic letter guys. I saw some Empire Music, a few other things. There were some interesting finds in there. Yeah, saw some interesting posts in the Taylor Guitar Owners group. Some folks sharing some things, some interesting upcoming things, maybe some little bit of leaks. So it's been pretty fun to watch.
It was an eventful NAMM, I guess. We did do a bunch of video and photo content for those customs. You'll start to see those, that's for sure. Okay, NAMM, I didn't have to go. I just didn't have to go. I wasn't that bummed, but last week we were supposed to have a show, everybody, and I know that some of us know why I was gone, but I couldn't. It was my fault. It wasn't Andy Lund's fault. Andy Lund is still traveling. It wasn't Lindsay's fault. Lindsay had some work leading up to NAMM that she had to take care of, so they're not here. As you can see, Mike Venezia is not here either. Mike Venezia is traveling, but Rich is here and Dylan is here. So we brought back our buds. Rich, all in all, how was NAMM for you?
No, NAMM was very good. We, like I said, I got to spend some time with Paul, Mr. Tobias, and he had his Chaj CAD, but I pretty much used mine.
Was his his dad's Chaj CAD?
But and I saw Lindsay at NAMM.
Yeah.
All in all, I mean, was it a slower show? Yeah. Was it not as big as it was pre-COVID? Well, of course not. But you know what? There were still some cool things to see, and it's fun to get reconnected.
I love it.
It's really great to spend some time with Andy and Bob, and we showed a couple of cool, really new things that people will be hearing about soon. And
they're probably already hearing about it because people are leaving.
Yeah, so I don't know how much we can talk about it, but But if you wanted to talk about it, I did run it through its paces.
Well, so have I, but I'm not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about one of the things. We're not going to talk about the other thing either. But we are 5 minutes and 12 seconds into the show, and we have not said Builder's Edition 814 CE yet. And we are going to.
Well, it's over my shoulder. It's right back there.
Yes, that is it.
Oh, nice.
Tonight is new guitar night. Everybody clap.
Here, I'll try to move this over so you can see.
Love new guitars.
Love new guitars. We had to have Dylan come back on to talk about these guitars because he, Dylan, I really was inspired by the last time you were on the show. You were spectacular, and I think that everybody else in the feed would agree with me. So welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back. It's so cool. I love this show, so it's awesome to be a part of it. Thanks for having me back.
Taylor Primetime episode 89. Gabe, Rich, Dylan, Lindsay, Sharpie, Andy Lund, Mike V,
Sharpie,
Roger, Andy Powers, Bob Taylor. We have done 89 things. Mom, we've done 89 things.
That's a lot of things.
That is a lot of things. We're almost at 100 things.
Are we gonna? Is there a 100 episode extravaganza?
There is going to be 100 episode extravaganza. Yeah.
All right.
There's a very special 100th episode extravaganza. We have some amazing shows coming up too. At one point, we are going to do an 814 CE, which I have one behind me. 814 CE versus Builder's Edition 814 CE showdown. So we're going to get some content filmed. We're going to work on that. And I can't wait for that one. That one's really going to be good. We've got, if anybody is into just legends on this earth, we're going to have skateboarding legend Steve Caballero on the show. He's also a guitar player. He's a big time guitar nerd. So that's going to be really, really fun. If you guys are familiar with the Bones Brigade, he and Tony Hawk and Mike McGill and Gons and everybody kind of grew up together in early, the late 70s, early 80s skateboarding. That's going to be super fun. Oh man, you guys are killing me with it. I know.
We feel you, Stan. You got to hang out in the Taylor group, man. There's been some things. We've seen some things.
We can't talk about it, man.
Can't talk about it.
We talk too much, though.
The first rule is you can't talk about it.
The first rule of
is this Fight Club? This isn't Fight Club.
No, but it's Primetime Club.
It's Primetime Club.
It's Primetime Club. All right. So anyway, tonight we're talking about new guitars, Builder's Edition 814 CE, 814 CE, and the American Dream hardtops. So we redesigned some American Dream hardtops, so we're going to talk about those. We got some cool content to show you. We're going to play some videos. We're going to talk about all this stuff. We're going to have a deep conversation about these instruments.
You hear that, guys? Lots of guitar talk tonight.
Lots of guitar talk. So you guys know how this works. Let's keep the feed clean. Let's just have a good old time. We don't want to have to put you in timeout. Anything derogatory or out of line, we're going to put you on pause and give you the boot. So don't do that. This is a guitar nerd talk show. So we talk a lot, especially before we get into the subject. For example, we've been speaking for 8 minutes, 44 seconds, 46 seconds.
Timestamp for your complaints.
Timestamp for your complaints. We do some segments up front on the show. And one of them that we haven't done in quite a while is this segment called Hug Your Haters. We got some hate this week, guys.
So good.
We did have some? I thought we did.
Yeah, we got some hate. And of course, that hate was from my mother because we didn't have a show last week. Okay. So I want to let everybody know, don't give my mom any grief. It's fine. But I got a phone call and she was like, you cannot do this to me. So Mom, I'm publicly apologizing for not having a show last week. I had to spend some time with an artist, one of our artists, getting her dialed in for tour. She's playing 7 Taylors on tour and
not at the same time.
And she is
not Rick Nielsen.
5 alternate tunings. So that's why she has so many guitars. But it was a really good time. I was in rehearsals last week and it was spectacular. So that is the hate we got. We got hate from my mom. Mom, I'm sorry. We're having a show right now. It's going to be a fun one, Mom. We're
And
going to play guitars and talk about.
I also got hate from your mom this week, but we'll talk about it later.
You did get some hate, but we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to bring that up at 2 minutes of
so
sports.
good.
Can you share those alternate tunings? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You want to? Can you guys hold on for a second? I'm going to share some alternate tunings.
I could barely write a song in one tuning, let alone
Dude.
5.
I'm all about open tone. Well, two of them are the two main guitars are tuned standard, but one of them is capoed, and it's some adjustment on the capo. One song it's capoed at the 2, one song is capoed at the 5. So we got to set the guitars up appropriately.
Jay, it might be a good idea to touch on that since you kind of come from touring and you've done a lot of tour stuff. Why is it that an artist would, in a touring situation, would have different guitars, even though both guitars are standard tuned and one's just capoed? Why is it that they would just already have that rigged up and ready to go?
Can you share some of those hate chats? Oh yeah. I can't wait to talk about the hate chat. My mom trolled Gabe so hard today. It was
really good.
It was fantastic. So we'll get to that in a minute. Multiple tunings, multiple songs. It's about the production of the show. It doesn't matter if you're ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to break some news to you. Okay. Who is a fan of this band called the Beatles? Raise your hand.
Hopefully everyone.
Okay. Has anyone ever seen Paul McCartney play in the last 20 years?
I've seen videos of it. I haven't seen him live. Man, do I want to see Paul McCartney.
Okay. So Paul McCartney is of age, we will say, right? He is now playing in in-ears. And in those in-ears, each track, each person on stage has an individual mix. We're familiar with this, right? Okay. In that mix, you have everything down to a click track. You have tunings on your guitar. You have cue points, like no joke. Cue points, meaning stuff like
somebody saying in your ear.
Someone saying in your ear.
Second verse, so you know where you are.
Yep. This is real. This is making your performance locked in. So, 20, 30 years ago, everybody was complaining about people who lip sync. Well, I could tell you that a lot of the time people just want to give you the best possible show. So you hear people talk, or they get a little frustrated about running tracks. They're running tracks. They're running backing tracks. Well, yeah, they are. The reason is because they play multiple instruments and multiple guitar parts that there's not enough humans on stage to actually make those things happen. In churches, often you will run a pad, right? And that just fills in some space. So with multiple guitars on tour, it's down to the choreography of a guitar tech handing the artist a guitar and taking it back. Like literally, that's how in depth we get with these performances and dialing all those in. Some of the open tunings. So Gabe, to your question, there's open tunings just based on how the songs were written, right? So check out some of these tunings. This is my favorite tuning.
And with a capo, it'd be fair to say that like they do that. So you don't have to stop and watch an artist like deal with retune. Oh, I got to retune a little bit.
I got to retune.
Switch guitars because their tech is faster than them tuning.
Yeah, 100%. Check this tuning out. CGCGCC.
Well, it sounds like an old Stephen Stills tuning, actually.
Yeah, it is. Right. The CGCG, when the song was written, CGCG, a broken B string, and then a C. So the high E was tuned to C. So that's low to high. C. So E tuned down to C. Right. A tuned down to G. D tuned down to C, G, standard, right? And then C, the reason why there's two C's back to back is because the song was accidentally written with 5 strings. So she just doubled those 2 strings, right? It adds for a really cool effect. One of the other tunings is C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F, G sharp, C sharp. Here's another one that's great. E, B, E, G sharp, B, E, right? And then there's some open E tunings and there's all different sorts of stuff. So like Gabe said, it just adds to the choreography of the show. it keeps things moving so that the shows aren't long. What's that? What does the neck do to the tension? Oh,
even when I would say that's a good question. Art asked a good question here. From the tech side of things, I would say that those guitars are set up for those tunings and they live in those tunings all the time.
Yeah, so part of me going up there to dial stuff in, I brought Terry Myers, who's been on the show. We actually dialed in those guitars. We changed neck angles on a couple of them. Relieve the tension on the truss rod just a little bit to kind of raise and lower the action just a little bit. But those guitars are so dialed in for that particular song, each particular song. I
was reading an article with a tech recently. I think it was, I think it might have been Dave Matthews' tech, was talking about even though a lot of songs are just played in standard tuning, they switch guitars minimum and they restring every 4 songs.
On electric?
On acoustic.
Really?
He's restringing his acoustic guitar every 4 to 6 songs, depending on the night.
Really?
Yeah. Because those strings are getting absolutely pummeled. And they're
That's
probably
interesting.
But yeah, it was. I thought that was a little maybe excessive for me. But I understand switching between songs a lot of times, because if your guitar, you played really hard, something maybe is going out of tune. Yeah.
Rich said it's 16 minutes and 36 seconds, and we need to talk about A14CE.
Let's do it.
That's what Rich said. Didn't you see it in the private chat?
I typed that into the private chat.
He is now a hater.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right.
No.
So we won't do what are you listening to tonight. We don't need to do that. Let's dive right into these nerd talks, these guitars. How's everybody feel about that? Guitar tech gotta eat. That's what I'm saying.
I was fully prepped for what are you listening to, but it's all good.
All right, let's do what are you listening to.
Let's jump into the chat. I like the nerd stuff.
I was going to tell a joke instead of what you're listening to, so it's okay.
Oh, should we start a new segment called Rich Joke Time? I don't know what we would call this segment.
Yeah,
Someday I'll tell you about my talking dog.
Okay.
We'll move on.
I think everyone wants a joke, Rich.
I feel like we do now. It's kind of a letdown if we don't have it.
Yeah, we need a joke.
Well, okay. So I'm walking around and I saw a sign in the guy's yard and it said "talking dog for sale." Knocked on the guy's door. He said, "The dog's in the back." So I went around to the back and I looked at this dog and I said, "So you're a talking dog?" And the dog goes, "Yeah." I said, "So how did this start?" He said, "Well, first of all, I started being an electrician. And then they found out I could talk, so the FBI hired me to sit in on private meetings. And then the CIA. And then I got old and I'm retired, so here I am." Okay, went back to the guy. I go, "So why are you selling this dog?" I don't understand it. The guy goes, "That dog's a liar. He was never an electrician."
There you go.
Let's talk about A14CEs. How's that? Hey, you know what we did for this guitar launch, which was so much fun? We made a truck commercial, and I'm going to play that truck commercial. I've always wanted to make a truck commercial for a guitar. So I'm going to play that right now, and then we're going to dive into this thing. We even have Andy Powers, who's going to jump on screen via video and talk about the A14. So everybody ready? You guys want to see this truck commercial? I'm so stoked on it.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
I am literally deaf now.
I
That
know.
was loud.
Hey, you know what's weird? We should figure out a way to like normalize content that goes in this thing, Gabe.
If only we had a standard.
If only we had a standard.
If
You
only
know?
somebody had written a whole white sheet. That was a super cool truck commercial for a guitar, Jay. I love it.
Yeah, Daria and Ram scored that
They're
for
great.
us. So that was pretty fantastic. I love it. As a truck driver, yes. All I wanted to do is make a truck commercial the whole time. Mom, I made a truck commercial. Okay. So 814, Builder's Edition 814. Now, how do we want to do this? Do you guys want to hear Andy talk about it for 3 minutes? Or Rich, do you want to tell us everything you know about this guitar?
Well, I can, if you want me to start, I could, but certainly coming from Andy is good. But I can just give you some tidbits, and then we can see if Andy agrees with me.
I like your tidbit talk.
But so if we kind of look at a timeline, first of all, we're not afraid to make guitars a conversation piece. That's never been, Taylor's never been afraid of that. We're not really known for tradition. Although the older we get, the more we might find ourselves, being that way. So, so let's kind of go back a little bit. First, there was the 814, redesign. So what more can you do from that? Well, then came V-Class. Then came the 814 CE Deluxe. So this platform is very important. So a lot of new innovations are happening. So along came the Builder's Edition 816 CE, which everybody loves. And if you haven't played it, that guitar is amazing.
Yeah, it's wild.
So now we come to the 814, the next level. So it feels different. It's a new contoured cutaway. It's the first Builder's Edition we have that's gloss. Okay, so let's think about that just a little bit. All right, so it's been a challenge. Speaking with Andy, it's been a challenge to get that guitar kind of off the ground because it's a very hard guitar to build. The armrest and the cutaways and polishing that guitar itself is challenging because you now have a beveled armrest. So it's complex. The Addy top, let's talk really just briefly about Adirondack as a top. Its strength to weight ratio is very high. That's why Addy sounds the way that it does. It's strong, but it's flexible. By doing the top the way we're doing it, and we'll get into the top here in a little bit, but doing it that way and joining it the way we're doing it, we can actually make it slightly thinner so it's more reactive. This is all about Builder's Edition, and that's what makes this guitar so impactful, so important, and why it sounds so great. Because you've got this top that's rigid, but is able to translate what the strings are telling the bridge to do. So, well, you know what? That's all I'm going to say at this point. I think we should see what Andy has to say, because as we get further into the top and how that's going on, there's a lot of things we can talk about.
All right, I like that idea. All right, ready? Want to hear Andy talk?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see if he agrees with me.
Watch your ears. What I was talking about, Gabe, was if StreamYard allowed some sort of thing. There is a standard. That is -14 LUFS.
Oh, I mean, this one will be because
That one was too.
we'll see.
See. I turned this one way down. It was hot earlier. Let's see how hot it is.
Hey everyone, I'm Andy Powers. I'm here to show you the new Builder's Edition 814 CE. Now, for those of you who've been following our Builder's Edition collection as it's developed over the last number of years, you might remember that the philosophy that drove those instruments was our desire to build the best playing, best feeling guitar. In simple terms, how do you make the music playing experience better? Well, for a guitar player, you make the guitar feel better, you make it sound better. And so we've taken that philosophy and brought it into our iconic 814 CE design. It's the quintessential Taylor guitar. East Indian rosewood on the back and sides, spruce top. In this case, made with multi-piece Adirondack spruce. Why multi-piece? Well, in a world where we see the future of trees as being different than what it used to be, We want to be ahead, kind of on the cutting edge of what the forest will give us. And we can see that doing great woodworking and unique guitar craftsmanship, we can create a uniquely optimized guitar using the material that's at hand. So in this case, you're seeing a solid Adirondack spruce top that's uniquely matched to use material sourced from a smaller diameter tree. Other Builder's Edition features that you've seen before, a beveled armrest, rolled body edges, this unique beveled contour cutaway, have been brought into the 814 architecture. But for the first time in a Builder's Edition collection guitar, we've elected to use a full polished gloss finish to help show off kind of the most complex woodworking we've ever done. So this is an instrument we're immensely proud of, and we hope you enjoy playing it as much as we've had building it.
Oh yeah.
So good. I love this comment that just popped up in the feed. People already grabbing it up because it's so awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. That's a great comment. Rich, follow
Sure.
that up.
Okay, so I think that actually a lot of the things he said, I think I kind of covered, so I'm feeling pretty good about that actually. You know, if we take a look at this top situation, because that's what you know a lot of people are talking about. So let's talk about it. You know, it's the same
Let's
basic
top about
technique. The same. It's the same basic technique of doing a two-piece top. You're just doing it two more times. Okay. And if you think about a lot of guitars that are out there, and Andy brought that to our attention, there's a lot of guitars that have 6-piece, 8-piece, 10-piece tops that are out there. And, you know, it's just all in how you do it. But here's something to really think about. Think about a piano soundboard. How large is a piano soundboard? They're huge. They're not 2-piece and they're not 3-piece. These things are huge, and they're made out of 4-inch pieces of spruce, right, and they're joined together. So you have hundreds, you know, not hundreds, but you have 20, 30, 40-piece tops, okay? And everything boils down to how do you properly do it? Well, nobody that I know makes the kind of machinery and goes to task like Bob Taylor does in making sure that he takes what Andy designs and is able to build it. So you know, so you've got that. You know, think about a violin. I mean, a violin is small, but it's still a 2-piece top. You know, you don't make 1-piece tops. And so, you know, so you have this synergy. Okay, let's talk about this synergy. So you've got this Addy top that we already talked about being flexible, being loud, making all this great volume. And you're pairing it with the 800 series rosewood that we use, which is amazing tone wood. All right. And then you've got this new cutaway that's out of torrefied mahogany, by the way.
Yeah.
And you have now a beveled armrest. And now you're doing and Andy mentioned this in his thing. Well, he's talking about the gloss finish. So this is the first Builder's Edition with a gloss finish. But this guitar had to be gloss. I mean, it had to be special. And you're trying, and he was talking about, to me anyway, polishing that guitar is brutally hard because you have all these different radiuses. And then you do something as simple as putting that rounded Builder's Edition bridge on there just to tie everything together.
Yeah.
So when you look at all of the pieces and parts that go into this, the amount of work that goes into it, how hard it is to finish it, put Godot tuners on it.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fantastic guitar. And like I said, the one behind me, you know, just absolutely stunning and probably To my ears. Now, my ears, I have a slight roll off in the high end. Okay. People have hated me because of the way I talk about people with their ear hearing and stuff. But even to my ears, oh my Lord, this guitar sounds amazing.
Yeah, it sounds
And
pretty
it
beautiful.
plays amazing.
Dylan, you've spent a little bit of time with it. Not a ton, but you've spent a little bit of time. How do you feel about the Builder's Edition 814?
I think it's I mean, I won't say it's like my favorite Taylor because there's a few. I just love the Grand Pacific shape, but I think it's the best guitar we make, if that makes sense. Like, it's just so technically dialed in. It plays, as Rich said, it's probably the best playing guitar, definitely the best playing acoustic guitar I've ever played. And it just sounds amazing. It's articulate, it's detailed, it's got a great frequency spread. It's just a dream instrument to own. It's definitely, something I would love to add to my collection. It's a beautiful instrument to use on stage, in the studio, or wherever. It's just perfect. It's really a perfect playing guitar. It sounds incredible.
Yeah, it's some of the reactions that we've been getting from this guitar are pretty interesting. Gabe and I had an opportunity we talk about our good friend Will Yip. He's a producer out of Philly. Excuse me. He's just fantastic. He's talented, multi-instrumentalist, etc. A Grammy winner. And we had spent some time with him a couple of months ago, right, Gabe? February, probably. And
I was back there too. I've been
Yeah.
there last couple of months.
there, yeah. And we put the Builder's Edition 814 in his hand because he loves the 814 CE more than any. Well, interestingly, there has now been this other guitar that has stepped kind of neck and neck with all three of these, and that is the 417, which we had talked about a couple of weeks ago with Dylan. You were on that show, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the favorite guitar I was talking about earlier, is that 417E. I love that guitar.
That 417 is just spectacular. But let me play this clip that we have of Will Yip explaining. Now, he speaks pretty fast. So you guys are
Will
going to have
talks fast.
Will talks fast, but I want you to feel the energy that he gives you around this guitar. Check this clip out.
With acoustic guitars, for the first 25 years of my life, I've been chasing a solid acoustic guitar to work into rock records or just acoustic music. I got a A14, my first A14, I was blown away. I was like, this is my favorite guitar I've ever heard. It's bright, it's controlled. I think that's an important thing, especially trying to fit it into a rock record where there's so many frequencies already taken up, so many frequencies accounted for. So where does the acoustic fit? This just has a place. The A14 just had a perfect place that fit, that didn't rub with the vocals, that didn't rub with the distorted guitars. Every mic I put in front of it, rather it's a 251 or 84 or 87 or 47, it all just translated so well because what you were getting was a very clean guitar, very focused guitars. I didn't hear any nasties. I know every engineer out there, every player out there, whether it's with electric guitars or acoustic guitars, you hear those frequencies that you want to oh, I can't wait to tweak that out in EQ. The A14, I rarely touch an EQ. I rarely put a filter on it. I thought it was impossible to improve upon perfection, but I hear more frequencies, but I don't hear any of the bad ones still. I get more presence, I get more bottom end, I get more of that low mid stuff that you like, but everything I hear on this guitar is very musical, probably even more than the last A14, which is crazy because that guitar was perfect to me, but this just took it to another level.
Gabe.
High praise from the great Will Yip there.
Well said.
High praise from the great Will Yip, but you just spent more time with him, Gabe.
Yeah.
Now we're diving into look at the last few episodes we've had. We had a microphone episode, we had a recording episode with Darian Ram, we had the ES2, the ever so popular ES2 episode, we had a DI episode. So let's talk about your experience, Gabe, with Will in the room about this instrument. Kind of break down really what he was talking about with frequencies and how precise this instrument is.
Sure. I'm in a super fortunate position in terms of guitars because I do a lot of video work with Taylor, and I do a lot of audio mixing too. So I get to hear things often way before they come out because I'm working on video content for them, and sometimes I'm filming it, sometimes I'm just like mixing and editing and stuff. But I get to spend a lot of time mixing audio, specifically of acoustic guitars. I mix full bands and hip hop and all kinds of things, but I mix a ton of acoustic guitars. And one thing I can tell you is really consistent across everything that you mix in general, most of the time. We talked a lot previously, like on the microphone episode and things about microphones really mattering more where you place it than what it is and things like that. But even a microphone, and again, we did some comparison with the ES2 versus microphones. Even a microphone is not a perfect, placed in the best way, isn't a perfect representation of a guitar. It's just not. There's nothing better than your ears. So
even your ears, Rich.
Even Rich's ears with their high frequency roll off there. So as an engineer, going into a mix, you're going to have to do some things. And often you'll have to, you'll have a frequency that rings out, and it can be just the combination of a guitar in the room it's in, or, something that's nearby. Things will ring out, or, mic placement or whatever. And so a lot of what Will was talking about was something that's really, I think, special and that we don't talk about enough is the way Andy voices things. The way V-Class has opened up this ability to go deep into voicing the way an instrument sounds. And that's almost like going in with an EQ and pulling out less desirable frequencies. And he's tuning the way the guitar sounds. And I've really been able to hear a progression of that over the years of getting to mix so many guitars, the way he's really specifically tuning tone woods, back and side woods with tops and different models to sound different. I talked to him recently. I was in New York filming some content with him for another project later, and was talking to him about something else that's coming that you don't know about. I was talking to him about the 724 because I historically dislike Koa tops.
I am the same.
And that guitar, I'm like, yeah, Jay, isn't it about time to send me a new guitar? Like, I want one because that guitar sounds so good. And it's so much better than any other Koa guitar, top guitar I've ever played. I always like Koa's back and sides, but never as a top. So that's the kind of stuff Andy's going into doing. And so what he's done with the Builders 914 CE is he's really gone in
814.
Or 814. There's no Builders 914.
But there's a question about the 914. We should get to that in a minute.
So what Builders 912.
Yeah, there's Builders 912, which is great too. But what he's really done is gone in and very deeply fine-tuned the frequency response of the guitar so that you're getting all the really great, rich, interesting stuff. And then he's kind of removed all the rich stuff. He's removed all the all the things that you might have to like EQ out. And it's a really spectacular voicing of a guitar. It's really an achievement, I think, and that comes from a lot of years of recording and mixing acoustic guitars. He's dialed that thing in.
I couldn't agree more, and that was very well said, Gabe. I couldn't agree more. Let's go back to the truck commercial. So the reason we made a truck commercial is because Andy made this such a beautiful, in some ways he called it a woodworker's dream. And that is one of the reasons why it's gloss, right? Rich, we do these things where we do this. It's kind of like, a lot of our sales team are spread out around the country, or, our European teams over in Amsterdam. And we have to find a way for Andy to be able to present all of these new instruments to the sales team or the marketing team, or quite frankly, anyone who wants to listen internally. And he talked about that heavily. He talked about, I needed this guitar to be all gloss because I want to show people how much work we put into making it. Right. And it goes back to that whole Builder's Edition ethos. Make the guitar comfortable. He created that beveled, cutaway. He has the armrest on there. He has everything that rolled off and chamfered edges to this Builder's Edition guitar. It's just spectacular. Rich, talk to us, Rich. Look at him. He's so inspired. He just went and grabbed it.
Well,
He had to
I'm
go
going
get
to try
it.
to do this. I mean, if you look at how cool
Look at that cutaway
bevel is on the cutaway, all right?
That's beautiful, man.
And then you look at the bevel armrest. This guitar, this guitar is truly a work of art, and it's art personified into, you look at this thing. Well, how does it sound? Well, it doesn't sound like anything until you pick it up. And the translation of the guitar, when I was at the show, what I thought was interesting, Tim Godwin was there. We all know Tim, and he was playing with the other gentleman. I can't remember his name that he plays with. We were all playing these 814 CE Builder's Edition, and you'd hand it to one guy and hand it to the other, and each one just brought out it translated what the hands were doing with that particular person, and that's what I think that. Now, this is my opinion, not because Taylor signs my paychecks, but it's my opinion, is that you put the guitar into the hands of the player, and it totally reflects the player. But what I have found over the last 10 years of being with Taylor is that Taylor guitars, for some reason, translate the player's emotions the best.
Yeah.
So,
I actually had last week when I was in rehearsals, I was talking to a different music director who wasn't involved with this camp, but he was close, and he said that same thing. He plays Gibson guitars because he's endorsed by Gibson, but he said if I had a choice, every time I pick up a Taylor guitar, it's just articulate and it's beautiful and it's more musical than any other instrument out there. Now, this was a quote, right? And I think that's, I see this comment over here from Bill that says on a video with Peghead Nation, Andy, some comments were that it was too bright even for a Taylor. What do you say?
I have a good response to that.
I have a good response, but I want to hear yours.
My response is that that was a video that was filmed and recorded on site, which I mixed and edited, and Taylor gave to Peghead Nation. And there's a bunch of those I've done for different dealers and things like that recently. And the thing I will always say on internet videos is you have to remember the guitar only sounds as good as the person who recorded it and the person who mixed it can make it sound. In that case, that thing was recorded in Andy's workshop, which is a pretty challenging environment to record in because it's in a factory and there's factory sounds going on. So I have to go in and do really selective noise removal to make anything sound good. So
factory sounds, and we're right under a regional airport. So often
I remove a lot of planes. So it's
not only that.
I would say that's as good as
for a pick. What was he using for a pick?
I think it was maybe Andy. Well, it was Andy and Teja Gherkin playing, but
okay.
I think they had one mic between them too.
Yep.
And so I was, and I think one may have been the ES2 when one, I don't remember exactly the setup, but I was trying to balance two guitars basically. And I think one was plugged in and one was mic'd, and that's all we had. So I would say take things like that with a bit of a grain of salt. Let your own ears, I mean, even things that I work on, even things that I mix, my goal is to get it as close to what I know it is to hold it and play it. And I'm lucky I get to spend a lot of time with Taylor guitar models because I'm out on video shoots with them and things get sent here. But always take things you hear on the internet with a grain of salt. Play it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest. That's going to be the biggest factor. Play it.
And what might be bright to you might be warm to somebody else.
True.
And it goes back to the argument that you've brought this up so much, Rich, where you talk about it's how you hear it, right? Dylan, I'm not going to name any names, but somebody we work with on our floor at Taylor Guitars told me that the 417 was the brightest Taylor he's ever heard.
Oh, see,
wow.
Right.
I would go the other way with that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
absolutely.
So
Mid
again,
2000s 614 CE. Have you played one of those? They're
right. Right. But what is bright to some may be warm to others and vice versa, or that definition of, I like to say Taylor guitars aren't bright, they're articulate. And to a lot of
they're
they're
transparent.
transparent. And like
They're balanced too. I think a lot of those other if you play a lot of guitars, a lot of the times the high end's a bit muted because it's not, it's not an efficient design to project the high end notes, or it's just, I think Taylor just has a very equal frequency spread across high and low notes. So, I think a lot of people they'll play like maybe a less expensive guitar and then they move into a Taylor and they're like, whoa, this thing's bright. But I think it's just because they're hearing things that they may not be able to get on their at-home guitar or the guitar they're used to playing. One thing I meant to mention too, we were talking about craftsmanship. I've seen the way they bevel those armrests, and there are literally no corners cut in building this thing. It is insane how much tooling and work goes on in the factory to get all those contours and beveled edges perfect, and it's kind of an amazing thing to see. So I would just also mention that it really is like a woodworker's dream. I think that was a really good way to categorize it. Sorry, Jay, I think I cut you off.
Oh, a while back there was a video on the radius armrest on how that was made.
Yeah.
And that showed how complex and how much labor goes into building that radius armrest. This, like that contour cutaway and everything, is way more involved.
Hey,
Totally.
Rich,
Yeah.
remember when we first launched the Builders Edition Grand Auditoriums with the beveled cutaway, and we didn't know how to make it? Remember that? So there's been times where we have this discussion all the time with people who if you're new to the Primetime, welcome. This is a Guitar Nerd talk show. We don't cut any corners, but there was a time where
because we had to bevel it.
we did. We had
There's a couple of jokes in the. It's all isn't it all cutting corners because you're beveling it?
Yeah, that is right. Anyway, but
True.
the way that beveled cutaway is made, we seriously launched these guitars at NAMM, right? Remember, it was K14, so it was the same year we also did B class, so it was K14 CE, and it was like, it was back when what do they call NAMM? Not available, maybe May. Is that what NAMM stands for?
That's it.
Yeah. It was one of those situations where we weren't really good at that. Hey, Max is leaving. He said good night, and he wanted to talk about comparing the Builders Edition 814 to a 914. I think we should add that to that piece of content that we're doing with the 814. That would be pretty cool to hear the difference.
I was gonna say it'd be cool to add the 4 and
to the
just
912
What?
builders. You could compare it to the 912 builders. I know it's a different size, but
You're weird.
I asked Andy. I asked Andy, why don't we do a 914 builders? And he said we have the 912, and now with the 814 builders,
it might be
probably
interesting
on the board, but
to do all the Rosewood GAs though.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Let's do all the Rosewood GAs. I like that. Okay.
Like just back to back, hear them all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what a content brainstorm meeting looks like. So we just did
Welcome to our brainstorm.
All right. So we're going to do that. Anyway, this instrument is just spectacular. I hope that you guys have the chance to go hear it, sit with it, play with it. It is just, let Alamo do the comparison. They'll probably do it. I'll just call McKee and he'll do it.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
He's probably already
And
making
yes,
that.
we can do a beveled armrest on a GC on a custom. I think John had that question.
Oh, really? This one?
Yeah. Yes, we can, but it would be a custom. But yeah, we can build that.
Yeah. Something I don't think is studied enough.
No, this is a
Player
good-
perspective. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
Carlo, this is a good comment. When I mix a lot of the Taylor audio that you hear, that is exactly what I'm aiming for. When I mix audio, I am trying to make it sound like the way I have heard that guitar when I physically play it. And I'm super lucky to be able to get to sit down and play many, many of these. There isn't a Taylor model that's out that I haven't played. So I get a lot of opportunity to spend time with guitars, and that's what I'm aiming for. I want to mix things so that it sounds like roughly what I think it'll sound like when you hold it and play it for yourself.
Well, Carlo, if you watched the video that we did on the mixing the ES2 and trying to get a good live sound with the direct boxes, I even talked about that. And yeah, the best sound of a guitar is 3 feet in front of it. So as a player, when you're behind the guitar and the sound hole's going the other way, yeah, sometimes it's best to have somebody play in front of you, but use a looper, if you're plugging it in, listen to what it sounds like and walk around the room.
Huh. I like that idea. You love this looper idea. You've said that last time. That's a really good idea,
Well,
actually.
like I said, I mean, like I do a lot of gigs live with my acoustic, and you don't really know what it sounds like until you do that. So if you just run a loop and then you walk around the room before people get there, you can really hear what it sounds like coming out through the PA. And I mean, geez, it's not rocket science. I mean,
And you're in the Hall of Fame. You know what you're talking about.
Yes, I am.
Carlo, hit me up sometime. You can hit me up in the Facebook, the Taylor Guitars Owners Group, and we'll talk recording nerd stuff. I'll help you out.
Love it. Gabe is here to help. Anyway,
I'm here to help.
Anyway, okay, so yay, nay. Let's each of us go around and we'll give our little brief opinion on the A14, and then we'll dive into these other guitars. I do have another clip. I have a couple of clips. I have some performance clips. If you guys raise your hand in the feed over here, if you want to see somebody perform a song on an 814, let me know.
Oh, I think we should play Al minimally.
We should, right?
I feel like let's just play Al and then let's talk about what we think.
All right, I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to play a clip right now, guys. This is a few minutes of a good friend of ours who is just super talented.
Oh, wait. Bandrew said I rock.
Bandrew
rocks.
Bandrew, you rock, but now look at his head. It's just going. Anyway,
next Mike Nerd episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was an opportunity Gabe and I had to film our good friend Al Bettis at Music Hall in Detroit, Michigan. What a spectacular performance. I hope you enjoy.
All started with a smile, your soft eyes peeking through my soul. And though it feels like a while, he cautiously as this unfolds. But it feels like heaven when I'm with you. Arms wrapped so tight I can tell when you breathe. Feel your heartbeat beating on me. And it seems like forever when you're away. So I take my lucky stars for the day you came, and you wipe my tears away. And now there's no more gray skies over my head now. Sun is breaking through, and it's all because of you. Now there's no more gray skies over my head now. Sun is breaking through, and it's all because of you. Say, you don't have to say a word. Lie next to me. Let's drift away. It all feels like a blur, moving so fast, and we both pray that we can withstand the fray. But it feels like heaven when I'm with you. Arms wrapped so tight I can tell when you breathe. Feel your heartbeat beating on me. And it seems like forever when you're away. So I thank my lucky stars for the day you came, and you wiped my tears away. And now there's no more gray skies over my head now. Sun's breaking through, and it's all because of you. Now there's no more gray skies over my head now. Sun's breaking through, and it's all because of you. Say it. I feel your heart pulling on me. Yeah. Just like a puppet, you hold the strings. Yeah. I am all yours, do what you want with me. 'Cause when I'm with you, I see things clearly. And I'm better when you're near me. No more gray skies over my head now. The sun is breaking through, and it's all because of you. Now there are no more gray skies over my head now. The sun is breaking through, and it's all because of you. Now there are no more gray skies over my head now. Sun's breaking through, and it's all because of you.
Wow.
That's an amazing performance.
Wait a second, Gabe.
Yeah.
How did we mic that?
So that was super fun. We were shooting in this beautiful hall and decided at the very last minute that we did not want to see microphones in the shot. And
let's be real, Gabe. I decided I didn't
Jay
want
decided
mics.
he didn't want mics in the shot. And as I do when Jay gets wild ideas, I went, okay, we'll figure this out. So the only other mics I had were a couple of wireless lavs, which are omnidirectional condensers. If you remember from our microphone episode, omnidirectional means it's a big bubble recording evenly all the way around. So we had one inside of Al's jacket, and then we gaff taped one to the bottom of his guitar, the waist of the guitar, just back from the edge. So we weren't getting a bunch of sound hole bloom, but we were getting like this nice, gorgeous body sound, and it came out great. I'm pretty pleased with it.
The room had such a beautiful natural reverb. That was all.
I did leave up room mics.
Yeah, that was.
So we're hearing the room.
We're hearing the room, and it was just special, man. That was just. It was wow. Hey, Rich,
Yes.
you may have an answer to this, but
Yellow.
all of the guitars that we've seen, in videos that we've shown tonight, the guitar Andy was holding has a very, I mean, you couldn't tell if it was a 2-piece top or a 4-piece top. Is that how all of them are?
You know, they're going to be different because wood is wood, and you know, we're going to be using what the forest gives us, and you know, are we going to try to specifically match this to this to this? And I think that when I was talking with Andy, you know, so we're book matching, you know, a lot of this, right? And so I think that what we're trying to do is from the same tree, book match, put them together, okay, in the best possible way we can. So some tops you're going to see the 4-piece, and some tops you're not. The one I have back here, you know, I mean, I can look at it and I can tell, but again, it really. It's not an issue in my opinion, because it's the sound of the guitar that we're after.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and Taylor's known for being a good steward of the wood that you know, that the forest provides. And I know that we all get, you know, sometimes get tired of hearing that, but you know what? It's the absolute truth. And so, and you look at the Steinway pianos with 30 and 40 and 50-piece soundboards, and, you know, and all of these things. And so, at first I was like, yeah, you know, that's not, would we really want to do that? And then you think about it and you go, yeah. I mean, because, you know, how big of a tree do you need? And Jay, you probably know the answer to this. It's the test. So here's the trivia test, right? The trivia question. How big does a tree have to be? How big does a tree have to be to make a 2-piece top?
Oh, Gabe, what is the measurement on that? I mean, the trees that up at PRT.
By the time, okay, so before we give the answer, by the time you think about a tree trunk and you remove the bark, and then you remove where all of the branches come in, so you have something that's usable. You know, I never thought about this stuff until you spend some time with Bob and Andy, and when they're walking you through this stuff, and you're going, my God, I mean, who thinks of these things? Well, the people that cut the
Got to be
trees down.
big, real
It's got to
big.
be 18 feet.
Yeah.
All right, 18 feet. We don't have 100-year-old trees anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I just got
unfortunate.
back from PRT, from Pacific Rim Tonewoods, from another upcoming project that you'll be seeing soon. But in totally into relation to this, because we were up there filming the milling process and talking about wood, and had a cool discussion that everyone will see very soon that we're working on. But yeah, I one of the things that I'll say too, to kind of tag on to what Paul says, is, again, not to diss on videos today, because it's largely what I do, but the way a guitar top looks in a photo or a video is not always the way it's going to look in person either. The way light's hitting it, you're not going to necessarily, like, even with 2-piece tops, you're not necessarily going to see that center seam joint in a video.
Yeah.
It just looks like a flat white piece of wood. When you pick it up, you can totally tell where it is on a 2-piece top. And so on 4-piece top, yeah, I think the way you're holding it and the way you happen to see it. The other thing is, when you're playing guitar, you're not looking at the top.
You're looking at the crowd.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a really good photo real quick of a guitar, of one of these Builders Edition 814s that may have maybe a little bit more variegated top. Check this out. So you can see it right
gorgeous.
there. That's
That's
a gorgeous
gorgeous.
top, man. I just saw this guitar in person. This is one of the guitars we had up in
Look at all
NAMM.
that cross grain, that silky cross grain.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
We showed that guitar at NAMM. If we were, font of 8,500, if we were embarrassed about that guitar, we would have never brought it to the NAMM show. I mean, that guitar is gorgeous, and the sound, oh my, isn't that what guitars are supposed to do? Make sound. I mean, that's really,
yeah.
We're trying to build the guitars that sound the best that we possibly can.
These things are beautiful. They're not all going to be super consistent, and we're working on some more content, as Gabe chatted about. We have another really cool piece of content that we're working on around spruce and around how this all works, and how quarter sawing works, and selecting trees, and
deep nerd
conversation.
It's the kind of stuff I've always really wanted to see somebody talk about with guitar building, like going all the way back to, when you get it from the forest, where does this start? Like, it's deep nerd stuff. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah. Phil, that was a 4-piece top.
Yeah, I saw that question. That was 4.
Is that 4 or 5? You want me to show it to you again? Do they want to see it again? I'll show it to you.
You might have to see it again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 4.
And so I think the way they match it too is they match the 2 inner pieces, and then they match the 2 outer pieces.
Yeah,
like it's
that's correct.
From inside out, and it looks amazing.
It's opened, and then it's 1 piece, right? So if you cut 1 piece like this into 4 pieces, it's opened, book match, and then slid out from underneath. And Andy, we're really going to get into the weeds about how this works and why his brain wrapped around doing these tops like this. Interestingly, Phil wrote something earlier where he called it a multiple piece top. At one point, we were thinking about calling it a multi-piece top, because we hear the chatter. We know that there's been a lot of builders who have tried this in the past, and it's not very good. And so Andy building it versus just another builder, it's a little interesting, because when I can tell you firsthand, when I hear these guitars in a room, they sound spectacular. I think we need to move on, though. We've been talking about Builders Edition 814 for an hour and 3 minutes and 51 seconds.
Last quick thing, I know a guy that actually built a guitar out of a pallet, and it sounded great.
Was his name Bob?
The guy's name.
And that was multi-piece too.
Yeah, Bob. That was his name, Bob.
Yeah, that pallet guitar is one of the better guitar I've played.
Monty just got one. I mean, recently, within the last, he bought one within the last year or so.
Those are hard to find, and they go for a lot of money when you find them used.
Yeah,
I played the factory. Yeah, I played the factory one, and it's one of the better guitars I've played. It's really good. It's just a really, really good guitar.
All right, let's move on. We got to move on.
Okay, hey, really quick, Craig.
Oh no,
really quick, Craig. We use the exact same joinery as we do on our two-piece top.
Yep.
So there's no difference in how the guitar is put together, nor the glue. I could tell you what glue we use, but I'd have to kill you.
Elmer's. Anyway, so again, so a two-piece top is book matched like this. A four-piece top is book matched like that. It's really interesting the way he's done it. If you go back and watch the truck commercial, I show Andy.
You see him open four pieces. Yeah,
you
cool.
see him open four pieces,
it's
and
quick,
that
cool.
was intentional. Okay, Builders Edition 814 CE. Do yourselves a favor. Go to a store, find one near you, play it, enjoy it, love it. You heard Will talk about it earlier. It is just. He said, "There's no nasties." I know exactly what he means by that. We know Will, but I know exactly. There's no nasty frequencies. They are just. It's. Oh boy. Anyway,
that was very relatable when he said that, for sure. I was like, oh yeah, there's always nasties, especially with acoustics. And if he's saying there's no nasties, I believe him.
Bandrew? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tastes like protein.
Tastes like no protein. No, tastes like Elmer's.
Tastes like chicken.
Tastes like chicken. Yeah, there we go. All right. So we're going to move on. American Dream hardtops. We redesigned the hardtops just a little bit. We added a tiger stripe pickguard to it, added an edgeburst. The guitars are virtually the same as the previous edition AD. So we have an AD21, which is the GT shape. We have an AD22E, which is the Grand Concert shape. And we have an AD27, which is a Grand Pacific shape, and they're all fire. In fact, Lizzie McAlpine is the artist that I was working with last week. You saw her play the AD27 on Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show. We showed that clip on this episode a few weeks back. It was actually the follow-up to the ES2 episode, so it would have been the episode you were on, Rich, where we talked about DIs. It is a spectacular guitar. So that is one of the guitars. Found a Taylor palette guitar reverb listed. That's what I'm talking about. Buy it.
Buy it, Dave.
Exactly. And it's made out of pallets. So when people talk about wood and this and that, it's made of pallets, and it's $15,000.
A pallet. We all know what a pallet
matters.
How you build the guitar, how it's designed matters. All right, so we're going to dive into these guitars here. Let's go straight into a clip I have of Sergio, of all people. Sergio Enriquez. You know what the best part is? These clips are only about 30 seconds, but I just want you to get some audio in your ears. I want you to hear how these guitars sound. The AD21E. That guitar is big sounding, huh?
Yeah, it is. I mean, he's in an alternate, like some kind of drop tuning or something.
Yeah, he's definitely. He dropped D. Definitely.
It still sounds so massive for a little guitar.
Sounds massive.
I love it. All right, AD22E, and this is our good friend Cameron Griffith. Time out before we go any further. 2 minutes of sports. Did you know Cameron Griffith was like a defensive end for the University of California, LA? So UCLA. He went to UCLA, collegiate football player, and was an absolute beast, and decided to be a musician as opposed to going to the NFL. I love his decision. He is fantastic.
Nice.
Anyway, how about that guitar? That guitar's fire.
Super cool. Great choice for him. Like, I love the kind of like bluesy fingerstyle, like vibe. Like that's a nice, just like vibey guitar.
All right. Now, what? Go ahead. What'd you say?
I was going to say for electrics, they usually ask like, does it gent? And I think for some of these guitars, it's like, does it jazz? And the answer is absolutely yes. It jazzes as well.
It jazzes for sure. Cam is such a good guitar player. Most of the time
the guitar that's on my wall behind me next to the 814 is my personal AD22. That's my guitar. It's not a demo. And it's prior to the Sunburst version, but it's the same guitar, just different finish. And oh my Lord, what a
Lord. That is the only thing you can say about these guitars. Oh my Lord.
It's
right.
It's unconscious how good it sounds.
It records well. It's like, oh my goodness, you need to have one in your arsenal. Let's listen to the AD27. It's also Cam playing the AD27. Like, come on, that guitar is so good.
But everybody knows that you can't play fingerstyle on a large guitar. So what?
That's true. You can't play fingerstyle.
I do on my 517 all the time. That's
are you kidding me?
Rich, let's debunk that myth. Where did that come from? What is that all about?
I don't know where it comes from. Well, I think where it comes from is guitars that don't have the bracing and don't have the technology of the build that we're making. And I'm not trying to tell everybody to drink the Kool-Aid here. The proof is in the sound. And just listen to that. And it's the same. The other American Dream I have personally that I own is a 17E. And I bought these two American Dreams. I'd like to just get them to try them out, and knowing that I won't like them, and it's like they've kind of become one of my favorites that I'm using. And I did a really good guitar at a restaurant, and I brought it as a backup. And when I did the sound check, I go, well, I think I'll start with it. I 4 hours straight.
I know, they're so spectacular. That's what I sent out with Lizzie, actually. She has two 417s, two AD27s, and two AD17 blacktops, and an AD12 or 812 CEN. So she has a nylon string guitar. But the American Dreams just sound superb. They're great instrument.
I think one of the
if you go back a couple of years right after COVID, and this is when American Dream began to hit, and most of us know the story behind all this, but I think it's important to revisit that. Bob and Andy, when there was only 10 people in the factory when we had this shutdown, and they're starting to come up with this idea of what can we do to impact the guitar players. And we come up with these full American-made solid wood guitars that are under $2,000 currently, right?
Right.
And you listen to the sound and you listen to what you can do with these guitars. And some people say, yeah, but they don't have cutaway. Can you make them with a cutaway? You really want to kind of look the person in the eye and go, do you really play above the 12th fret? I mean, do you really do it? And I fully understand that some people do, and all that. That's fine, but listen to the guitar and play the guitar, and you're going to be astounded. These American Dream guitars, and I have a large guitar collection. Everybody knows that, many different brands, and I'll tell you, there's nothing that beats the sound, the playability, and the overall enjoyment that I'm getting out of a sub $2,000 guitar. Now, I know we just got done with an hour-long segment on a $4,500 guitar. That's amazing. But I'm telling you, these American Dream guitars are worth a look. That's my sales pitch right there. That's it.
And for $4,500, pretty much, you could have all three.
You can have all three.
And that's 3 different shapes, 3 different sizes, 3 different use cases. Let's talk about the wood pairing. So it's a solid mahogany top, correct?
Correct.
And sapele back and sides? Or is it all mahogany? No, right.
No,
Okay.
Sapele.
300 series is all mahogany. Look, we make so many guitars, even I forget.
Well, it got confusing there for a little while, because American Dream, because we started American Dream. We even had Ovencall on the back for a while. Then it went to walnut, and then we came out with these 22s, and holy, I mean, the AD22E, hands down the best value in the Taylor line. James, you hit it on the spot. That's the guitar that's on the wall.
Yeah, I think the one of the interesting things is that we talk about these as a value line because they're the entry point in Taylor's line to solid wood US made guitars, but the amount of pros that are using this,
Andy Grammer plays one.
Cat and Alex
play them. Zach Brown Band has them. Lizzie McAlpine has 4.
The amount of like touring pros who are using American Dream series. Keith Goodwin has an 8027. Like
Keith has every single American Dream guitar because he's scoring something for us right now. So they're definitely value is understated. I think I would agree with you. I am not, man. That guitar behind you, Rich, the 8022, is so doggone spectacular. That I mean, it
is.
Sorry,
it's spectacular. It's spectacular. It is.
Look at this. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Black tops are rad.
There's a good question up here. James, what's up, James? I hope you're doing well. Is a compound carved neck? No, it is not. It has a standard Taylor neck carve on.
Correct. Only the 517 and 717 have that compound carve.
It would be a builder's edition compound carve, really. We haven't put it on anything else.
Right. And Sam, the AD27 all maple, it's the AD27E flame top. If it says flame top, then it is the maple.
The flame top, which is also that's a wild guitar too, because
and that's a story in itself. I mean, I remember Bob telling a story. Hey, Andy, do you think we can put maple as a top wood? And Andy goes, I don't think so.
I said for years.
Yeah, only on a Grand Pacific, and it's astounding. That guitar is astounding.
Yeah, the flame top. It's so that is like an extra weapon that you need. I often, I'm sorry, you've probably all heard me say this before, but the flame top is that crappy Gibson that you wanted always. Like sometimes you find an old crappy guitar, right? And
it sounds it's a little bit
PO Box U812.
No,
it's like like a 50s J45. Yeah. It's a little bit overbraced. It's a
I need to clarify that.
Like it's a little, it's like bad in the best way.
I have to clarify that. I am a huge Gibson fan. Okay, they are. I mean, electrics. Let me get into weird bass guitars. Like I love Gibsons. I love hollow bodies. I love Gibsons. Okay. I love Fenders. If you can find an old crappy Gibson acoustic guitar, and I say that with the most respect that I can say, like rusty strings, thuddy, poor setup, and you play it and you can almost feel the angels. You know what I mean? Like the old dudes
who dead. They have an old dead guitar sound, and it sounds great. It's just perfect amazing for some stuff.
Yeah, sits in a mix really nicely.
Yeah, just does the old dead guitar thing. Like it's just
so. When Andy first showed me this guitar, I was like, "Oh, that's like a perfect old crappy Gibson." And he said, "Exactly." Now I want you to know, Andy's his house guitar that he grew up with was an old, smaller body Gibson acoustic. So this is what I'm talking about. It came from a place of familiarity for Andy, and that guitar, the flame top, is spectacular. We should do a whole episode again on the flame top.
Yeah. Hey, Fred Blackwood. Fred Blackwood is louder, and it also has a little bit more high end. than the Sapele. The Sapele is like a mahogany, so the mahogany is going to sound flatter. The Blackwood's going to be loud, a little bit more on the high mids.
Hit us up with your questions over here if we got more questions. So we also have a performance of our good friend Ben Walsh that we filmed. And this is actually a rough performance. Gabe mixed it real quick, and we threw a cut together so that you guys could see it tonight. It's the world premiere. If anybody wants to hear another song, we'll play another song. But I'd love to hear your questions. Any questions you have about all the stuff we talked about tonight, that would be spectacular.
Do you want to play it while people start feeding us some questions to answer?
Yeah, that was my idea. I love it.
Good idea. I just want to set that up a little more for you.
I like you. I'm going to play this.
I like you too, buddy.
I like you, Gabe. You're great.
Bros.
All right, whatever. It's all good. I can't wait until it's 2 minutes of sports because I can't wait. Okay. I'm going to play this performance by our friend Ben Walsh. He's in a band called Tiger's Jaw. We filmed it at Russo Music in Philadelphia.
Great store.
Great store. Those guys are spectacular. And we mic'd it exactly the same as we mic'd Al Bettis because Jay didn't want mics in the shop. Okay. Here you go, guys. Ping us with your questions in the feed.
You hollered me out 90-mile increments and driving dead-end streets. You're mad they don't keep going. Why do we keep going anyway? Like there's honor and headaches all the time. I swear the air is poison. And where is the oxygen? 1,000 bright lights obscuring my vision. Strip away the paint and begin again. I am not the one you were hiding with. A blue rose can't be mistaken. I can hear your hesitation in your voice, but now I can't get it out of my head. Weighing down and dragging under, heavy and permanent. Hollered me out, only for the loneliness controlling all your stories. And I'm getting lost in all the details, a chameleon with colors every time. But strip away the paint and begin again. I am not the one you were hiding with. A blue rose can't be mistaken. I can hear your hesitation in your voice, but now I can't get it out of my head. Weighing down and dragging under, heavy with hesitation in your voice, but now I can't get it out of my head. Weighing down and dragging under, driving home with red and orange trees. No one's in the front seat.
That's so awesome. Ben's
Tiger's
so
Jaw's
great.
great, man.
Tiger's Jaw is so great. Ben is also like 6'7".
Whoa.
No, he's not. He's not. He's taller than me though. He's 6'6". And so when I stand next to a tall person,
He's not 6'7". That's outrageous. He's 6'6".
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I'm 6'5". So when I look at him, I'm like, oh, you're the tallest person I've ever seen.
That's how I feel with you. I'm 6'1", and I'm a giant around everyone around here. And then I get around Jay or like Aaron Dablo, and I'm like, what is happening?
Well, Taylor
Matumbo.
could have a basketball team. You know what, Phil? I replied to you in the feed here. I like that guitar, dark and moody. That is right. That guitar is dark and moody, and it has a space. It is really cool. It's got this like woody punch in the mid section.
Very, very
Classic.
low mid range.
Yeah.
Focused, like very low mid range, very fundamental sounding. Really nice guitar.
James had a really cool comment here. What's the panel's take on gloss versus satin? I've always been drawn to satin finishes, but understand why folks may need some shine. What's your take, Dylan? What's your take on gloss versus satin?
I mean, I think you always give up a little bit with the more gloss you put on, but I think there's a way to do it so that you're not totally muddying up the sound. You know, I think there's the veneers that we use are very thin, and they allow the guitar and the grain to breathe, and even as it ages, it'll open up as a guitar should. I have never played a Taylor that I thought sounded choked, like from a finish. So I mean, I've never, and I have played other guitars from other manufacturers where I'm like, it just feels like this thing is being buried underneath whatever finish is on it. And, you know, of course, a lot of times those are layered and then you're putting a really thick lacquer on it. So I do think it can kind of suffocate some of the sound that you want. And I've never played a Taylor that had that quality. They're always really open, and they always, you know, move a lot of air, and they project really well. And I always liked finishes too. Like I have a 414, the shaded edgeburst here, and that's got a really kind of cool finish on it. And this is my tried and true Taylor, so I have no qualms with finishes as long as it doesn't sound like it's being totally buried, which is something I haven't come across with any of the Taylors.
Rich, how do you feel about satin versus gloss?
There isn't a huge thickness difference. So, you know, a lot of people think that, and in reality, you still have to spray stuff on the guitar. You know, Andy has a great take on this, where he says, if you think that satin finish is better, or you think that thinner, try to play a guitar with no finish. It sounds like actual dog poop. Because
here we go again with your poop stuff.
I know, but
and the dog stuff.
It needs to have something to balance everything out. So so satin really it isn't that much thinner. I don't know if his question was about the look of the guitar or the sound. He really didn't specify.
I know he. Correct me if I'm wrong. James, you have a 517, I believe, right? Or is it a 717? I get confused because they look the same if they have a burst on them.
So there's a silent satin, and then there's the regular satin, and the problem is you can't build a guitar. You can't build 2 or 3 guitars that are exactly identical and put a different finish on them. I'm sorry?
What is the problem? I'm just kidding. You said the problem is
the problem is you can't build 3 guitars that are exactly the same, that'll sound exactly the same, and put a different finish on them so you can hear what the difference is.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You know, you can even try to build it out of the same tree, and it's not going to matter. So,
Interestingly, though, let's just talk real quick. Let's pivot real quick, because that's a good point. The American Dream guitars are a water-based finish.
Correct.
So, and would it be considered a water-based satin? That's a question. We need to have one of the finish guys on here.
It's usually referred to as a matte finish as opposed to a satin finish, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a very thin matte finish.
You can feel the wood grain.
Yeah. It's a very thin finish as opposed to a traditional satin finish. And Rich, you can, and Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the difference between a regular satin finish and a gloss finish is buffing, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
You spray finish on it, and then you buff it to gloss, and you're removing some of the finish when you buff it. So there's like 1 mil of difference between a standard gloss and a standard satin, maybe.
Yeah. And if
I
you're
don't-
wondering what a mill is, it's a thin piece of paper.
Yeah, it's about the thickness of a piece of paper. Yeah.
an extremely thin piece of paper. It's not much.
Yes.
Like, so, I mean, I'm with Dylan and Rich too. Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't, I don't care. I
Yeah.
like that. Like, was playing my my 2005 514 CE over here earlier today, which is gloss, and I love that guitar. It's an absolute cannon. It's, almost 20 now. It's a rad guitar. My 517 is kind of my deserted island guitar, which is silent satin. I've got a vintage 79 510 over there. That's gloss. That guitar's rad. I don't really care. Like, sometimes I like the look and feel of satin. Sometimes I really like the glossy finish. It's the guitar. I mean, do I like the guitar? Is the guitar cool? Is it fun to play? Like, that's all that really matters. I know that there's science to
Science. This is such a great comment here. My 1998 Taylor 810 sounds great to me. Do the new ones sound better? The new ones sound different. Don't ever get rid of your 98 810. That is
No, it's
a
a rad
great
guitar.
guitar, and you should always keep
there
that.
also is no current 810.
Yeah, there's no 810.
It doesn't exist. So I would say that, yeah, those are going to be very different voices. That guitar is also almost 30 now. So, like,
Yeah.
it's going to sound better than everything because it's almost 30. Like, old guitars sound better than new guitars. That's just a fact. Like, hello, kitty.
Hey,
but-
Rich, my mom doesn't
Yep.
like cats too much. Just throwing that out there. What?
Did you hear that, Jack? Jack, did you hear that? Nobody likes you.
Yeah, I would
This
say
is
hold on
Jack.
to
This
that
is
810 for sure.
18-year-old Jack.
All right. Hi, Jack.
Wow, 18. Yeah, hey Jack. Yeah, I mean, what Rich said earlier is totally true. Like, no two guitars are the same. That's why you could pick up like a vintage, Gibson or Martin, and you can play 4 J45s, and they'll all sound totally different and play
Yeah.
totally different. And the same thing with a D28. I mean, every guitar is kind of its own thing. So that's why it's always important to try it, hear it for yourself, check it out, play it in a room, and make the decision for yourself. And I like Gabe's approach. Just own a bunch of them, have all the different flavors you need.
Yeah, just own a bunch of stuff. It's fun. And it's way cooler than buying a house or anything. I think that, yeah, I think that I agree. Like I mean, the sound differences, you're going to hear more difference in the wood in the guitar.
Yeah.
The other thing, when you're talking, that's interesting that I wanted to tack on to what Dylan just said is that when you do play those old guitars, they're Taylor, you're more likely to hear similarities between playing 4 or 5 Taylors of the same model than other things, because Taylor is a very consistent builder. And I worked in a guitar shop for almost 20 years. I've played, I don't know how many guitars, but it's a lot of guitars. And the consistency level is extremely, extremely high. So you could take Pets of Primetime. I'm down.
Yeah.
You could pick up 3 of the same model and maybe label them good, better, best. But I don't think you're going to say this one's a dog. Like, I've played dogs of other things where I've gone, that sounds
That's
terrible,
not a good guitar.
and it's never going to sound good. And I've played others where I've just been like, that's an absolute joy. I think the cool thing about Taylor is the consistency level of that's an absolute joy to play. That sounds rad is very, 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 very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing we should briefly say is if you have a satin finished guitar, make sure you don't use guitar polish on it.
Somebody just in the thread mentioned using oil on an 80,
I would not do that.
Don't do that.
It might make it look great, but I wouldn't. I would. That's why I brought this up. You should use the satin cleaner. And not use a polish or not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use an oil.
You really want to avoid those things because they can actually hurt the finish potentially. You don't really know how the chemicals.
I'm sorry, James. I didn't mean to
not to dump on you,
there.
buddy, but I probably would avoid that. Satin cleaner works great. Love it. I have
satin cleaner works great.
Yeah.
Satin finish cleaner. If you don't have it, highly recommend.
Yeah, I use that on every satin guitar. Like I have this bass back here that has like a satin blue finish to it, and yeah, always the satin cleaner.
Yeah.
2 minutes
Thomas.
of pets. 2 minutes of pets.
2 minutes of pets. Thomas, I can answer this. I don't like elixirs, so I'll answer this. That's not true. I love them on electric guitars because they're really bright. I don't love them on acoustic guitars because they're really bright. I like D'Addarios. Yeah, it's 100% personal.
Yeah.
The cool thing about them I love on electric guitars is that they last for a million years.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally just like they never seem to die, and that's wonderful on electric guitars because I don't restring those nearly as often. But for acoustic guitars, I'm a big fan of D'Addarios. I'm really into the XS strings right now. I've been playing those and string joys here and there, but I really like that. Yeah, they're cool. I use those on my Loudon. I use D'Addarios on all my Taylors now. That I've been using the XS for about 2 years, I think, and they're just really good.
They're phenomenal.
What I find amazing is, guitar players are so interesting. For those of you that don't know, I used to own a guitar shop before I worked for Taylor. And
I still think I bought my Matchless Brave at your shop.
You did. I'm sure that you did. But anyway, you'd have people that would be more interested in spending $3,000 on a new guitar than saying, why don't you spend $45 on these 6 sets of strings? Take them home, put them on, play it, take them off, put something else on, play it, take them off, put them on, leave the ends long so you can put them back on, and just see what the difference is. And a different pick, for $50, I can give you more
whole
things
new
to
guitar
do in a weekend. So you pick up some D'Addario XS, you pick up some Ernie Ball Alumabronze, you pick up those black package Ernie Ball Alumabronze, cool string, love them. I did the ultimate sin. Paul Tobias can vouch for this. I put a set of Martin strings on my custom mahogany.
Sure.
I mean, they sounded cool. That guitar totally took on a whole different vibe.
Silken Steels are really cool. Try those.
Silken Steels, absolutely.
Those are a whole vibe.
You just gotta mess with it, and don't forget to put your guitar in. Listen to it acoustically and electrically.
This whole top drawer of this thing over here is like nothing but guitar strings and like accessories. I keep a huge variety of picks like sitting on my desk. I change picks constantly, like just to hear different things. Like try things. Go out and spend $7. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but spend $75 or $100 on strings. Just try stuff.
Yeah, try strings.
I mean, we all spent $75 on a lousy dinner. For crying out loud, buy some strings.
How much a week do you spend on coffee? You can spend that on strings.
Just buy some and buy some
John
picks
Gold
while
called
you're
out
at it.
The Clear Tone Custom Lights. Those are actually really solid. I played those quite a bit. What's cool about those strings is they're not coated like elixirs. They're dipped in a chemical bath, so they're treated strings, and those are great. And I totally agree with you, Gabe. I actually prefer elixirs on electric guitar.
Love them on electrics.
They're
bass
awesome.
too. They're great for bass too.
I play
100%
on electric.
My go-tos right now are the D'Addario XS though. I've been trying those out for the last few months, and I'm hooked. I think they're awesome for both acoustic and electric. They last a really long time. They sound great. They don't.
The way they're wrapped, the way that they're coated is not. It's not a coating. So most coats, it's like if you could imagine there's no other way to rolling a cigarette, right? So putting tobacco in the cigarette. So it's like putting the core in a coat and then rolling it and then chopping the rest of that off. That's how a lot of strings are coated. The XS strings are coated in the same direction in which the string vibrates. So it's a whole different process.
It's like a film, right?
Yeah, it's a film
really
that's just
film.
It's really interesting. I'm a fan of the XS strings. On electric guitar, I play Ernie Balls. I've been an Ernie Ball fan for a long time.
Great strings.
Which are probably made in the D'Addario factory. Who knows? But, it's a cigarette, Jay. Paul, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
we're all like...
Yeah. We were all thinking it. Gabe and I were looking at each other up and down going...
Sure, Jay.
Sure, Jay. Cigarettes.
Yeah,
Back in the day, they
I
used to roll
still
cigarettes.
really enjoy Elixir. I don't remember what the thinnest coating for the electric strings is called,
The
but that's what
NanoWeb?
it's thinner than
NanoWeb.
that. It's like the Polyweb.
OptiWeb.
Or no, not
No,
OptiWeb. That's what
NanoWeb is the thinner.
Opti is a little thinner than that even, and it's for electrics only. And that's what I have on my electrics, and I love that. They just like I store my electrics out because I don't do that with my acoustics, and I like to just be able to grab them, and the strings last for a million years, and they always sound great. So there's just some they're perfectly good acoustic strings. I don't mean to dump on them. I just feel like there's a little extra brightness on the top end for them, and I want them to die a little bit.
It's just like Paul Tobias said in the chat here. Strings and picks are the cheapest experiment that you can have.
100%.
Yeah. Don't buy a new guitar, says the guitar manufacturer. Don't buy a new
Try
guitar.
different metals too.
Go buy some strings, man. Buy some strings. Buy some different picks.
Change your pick.
Well,
Change
make
your
sure they're
pick.
Taylor picks.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Make sure they're
the
Taylor
80/20
picks.
bronze. Yeah, without a doubt. Thermex. I just remember like specifically trying out a pack of 80/20 bronze Elixir polywebs versus a phosphor bronze set, and the difference is huge. It's a very large difference just in the alloys and metals that they're using in the strings. So I would try different gauges, because sometimes thicker strings are louder, or you maybe get a little more volume. But I just try a bunch of stuff.
I think we're gonna have to have another string episode.
I love strings.
Maybe we could get some string nerds on here, like a Dario person.
Even changing the tension, changing the gauge of the string.
Yeah.
So we for a while we had the HD lights, and some people loved them, some people hated them. And you try a medium, you try a light. You just Paul Tobias. It's a cheap experiment. And
I had Andy tell me that about I got my 517 a little bit early, a little bit before they came out by a few months, and I was really lucky to be able to enjoy that for a while. And so I saw Andy at like when they came out at NAMM, and I was like, I love this guitar. It's so great. I've never been able to enjoy mediums before. And he goes, "Oh, put lights on it though. Watch what happens. It's really cool." And so I did, and I loved it, and it was really rad. I went back to mediums because I just love that guitar with mediums on it. But it's really interesting how you change string gauges, and it just will wildly change the sound of your guitar, or the way you play it. Even it can change your playing.
Well, Rick Beato did a great thing on string gauges.
Yeah,
and it was for electric guitar.
He's
but
super
you
cool.
Should watch it. Yeah, you should watch it. And the old story about B.B. King talking to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Why are you working so hard? And wars have started over people that think you should play a thicker gauge string, and then you hear a guy that plays 8s and 7s, and he has the meatiest tone ever, and you just want to go, dude, come on, it's the touch, it's right here, guys, it's right here.
Yeah, I play baby strings on electric guitars for sure. And baby strings, I mean, very light. I played 9s. I have 9s on. I mean,
I play 10s and 11s on electric.
Well, you're stronger and cooler.
No, it's just I'm an ape, and I sharp everything. I usually play with a round third too, because I will sharp everything.
Oh,
I over grip because I'm an acoustic player.
That's fair.
Stop doing that.
All right. I'm
too lazy to get better.
I think it's time. I think it's time to move on to the next segment and wrap this show up, because we have been talking for 1 hour, 43 minutes and 30 seconds.
Glad I started you sooner.
Go out and try the new 80s. They're really cool.
Yeah.
Go out and try the new Builders 814 CE. It's crazy cool.
Really cool. It's really cool. It's worth every penny. Personally, I think that we priced it too cheap.
It's not much. I mean, just so this is evergreen, I'm not going to throw out specific prices, but it's not very much more than a normal 814 CE.
No.
It's
very
so
little.
The 814, and let's get this thing settled. The 814 CE is still an amazing guitar in its own right, and still
100%.
has every reason to stay in the lineup. Please don't think that the Builder's Edition 8 is going to take the place of the other 8. These are two different animals, okay? However, you know, what you get for the Builder's Edition for $500, current pricing, just in case somebody watches this in a year and a half and they realize we put them too cheap.
April 18th, 2023 pricing.
Yes. Godot tuners, beveled armrest, gloss finish.
Beveled cutaway.
We didn't talk about the fact that Andy did slightly tweak the size of that body, ever so slightly. Okay. So this guitar is totally different than your 814. I could see a person owning an 814 and an 814 Builder's Edition.
Yeah.
And have two totally different great guitars. Okay. So that's where the sales guy in me falls over. You know, you play them both and you get a feel and you understand what the difference is. And it's like the American dream. You know, and you can have an AD22, you can have an AD27, you can have an AD11, and every guitar it's a different tool in the shed. You know, a lot of the things that we can talk about, contractors' hammers. You don't build a house with a tack hammer, and you don't drive, you know, finish nails with a stud hammer. These are totally different tools.
You drive them with a finish hammer.
Yeah,
as opposed to a
Norwegian hammer or a Swedish
Norwegian hammer. We did this the last time.
an Irish hammer.
An
oh
Irish
my God,
hammer.
that was hilarious. That was
all right.
absolutely. Okay, we're
all right,
on.
everybody. It's time. We got to move this on to the next segment because, oh my, yes, this is going to be fun.
Oh, man.
Let's watch a useless clip. Gabe, my mom trolled you earlier when she's like, the Tigers are up 2 on Gabe's team today. So
good. I sent a screenshot to Jay earlier of my Instagram, and Nancy sent me a message, and it just says, "Yay, Tigers." So good. I loved it. It made me so happy.
She trolled you. So
trolled
good.
me.
Anyway, Dylan, since you're on the show, we'll talk about baseball in just a second. How about these NBA playoffs, man? We're in the playoffs. You excited? Your Lakers, baby. Your Lakers make it. I think they're gonna make it out of Memphis. This is my opinion. You know, I'm a Warriors fan. I'm a Bulls fan. My Bulls didn't make it. Yeah, I have a little love in me for Detroit, but oddly enough, I've early on, I got to go to a basketball game with my dad in Northern California, and it was really special. And I kind of fell in love with this Warriors team. And I mean, my past few years has been great. I think that it's early in this series, and everybody should just chill out. Watch my team. My team's about to.
I agree.
They lost the 2 games they're going to lose in the playoffs. So there we go. I'm excited for the Lakers, man, though. LeBron James, I've said this before. If you hate LeBron James, you don't deserve to be a basketball fan. He is spectacular.
The 3rd greatest player of all time.
He is at least. I mean, it's different, man. There's a lot of greatest
I just like
player.
to say things to set people. Lindsay is probably like throwing things at me right now. It's great.
At the start of the season, the Lakers had I think it was a 0.3% chance of making it to the playoffs with their record because they had such a losing record. And so the fact that we even made
2-10, right? They started 2-10, yeah.
So it was even amazing that we made it there. But then now to be winning the series, I think they just made a couple really good moves with the roster, right when they needed that, and just kicked it into high gear for the playoffs. It's been great to watch. I had the pleasure of checking out a few games this year and driving over to the crypto.com arena now. And man, it's whenever your team's winning, it's the best times.
So let's segue into baseball. Go Tigers. The Tigers beat the Cleveland Guardians today, 4-3. Go Tigers. And Rich, how do you feel about your Phillies this year? What are they going to do? They did well last year. What are they going to do this year?
You know, I have to say,
it's early.
Since my dad passed away, I haven't been following it as much as I used to, because we used to do it together. So I really don't know. But the only thing I can say for sure is how about them Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball NCAA marching orders?
Love it.
Huh? How about them? And I'm a Cyclone, ISU Cyclone. I am not a Hawkeye fan, but how about them Hawks?
Man, they did spectacular. They got
spectacular.
That women's national championship game was one of the best played basketball games I've ever witnessed.
Unbelievable.
In my life.
Unbelievable.
My mom and I always laugh. If you're a basketball fan, watch women's basketball because they can make their free throws. They do everything and execute everything so well that it's like
team ball.
Anybody who talks trash, just you don't have any room here, because my mom was a basketball player and she was good. And those women on both LSU and Iowa were just spectacular.
Unbelievable. It was so nice to watch a basketball game where people didn't miss layups and miss free throws.
I know. There was a run in one of the Michigan State games in the tournament where they missed like 11 free throws in a row. Come on, guys.
Did you see there was an NBA game where DeMar DeRozan's daughter was in the crowd, and I think they were playing against the Raptors, the Bulls Raptors, and the Raptors missed 11 straight free throws. 11.
Yeah,
because DeMar's daughter was in the crowd, like screaming every time they shot. It was brilliant. Loved it.
I love
the like really high pitched scream one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love.
That's vicious.
I love women's basketball, man. They're just so good. They're just. I'm a girl dad, so girls are.
Caitlin Clark's parents live about a mile and a half on the road from me.
Yeah, she's spectacular.
She was insane that whole series, or that whole tournament. I mean, she was amazing. It was really a fun showdown to watch. It was a really great finals game, probably the best and most entertaining I've seen.
And if you want to know how I feel, I think all of them have the right to talk trash. When you're winning, talk trash. It's so much fun. Be a good sport. Talk trash. That was just fantastic. Both sides. I loved it all. Anyway, 2 minutes of sports. That's great. We do not have trivia tonight. It is what it is. We didn't think of any.
Sorry.
We came into this thing late. Anyway, you guys have been spectacular. This show it was a good one. The Builders Edition 814 has been a long time coming, man. This guitar is spectacular. The AD American Dreams.
The thing that we can't talk about.
Wait until they see two things that we can't talk about.
Also, that third thing that we can't talk about.
There's also the fourth thing that we can't talk about.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a big one. Yes, we will be back next week. We're still trying to dial in the guest because we had some scheduling snafus happen, but we will be back next week. It'll be exciting. I don't know who will be on the show with me, but you guys have been spectacular. Gabe has been more of a regular lately. I think he's going to be here more often as Andy is traveling. Dylan, I hope you'll join us more often. The spectacular. And Rich, you're going
to fire me, I know.
Well, I fire you every episode
Rich
that you're on, but then I invite you back.
Rich has been more of an irregular.
I invite myself tonight.
You did. You're like, who's on the show? He did. I was actually looking for a guest, and he's like, who's on the show with you tonight talking about this? And I said, do you want to be? And he said, yes. So that was it.
I did it because I really have a great admiration for these guitars, the 814 Builders and these American Dreams. I really, we hit grand slams with these guitars.
Yeah.
And I just really want to urge everybody to play an American Dream.
Yeah.
Forget it doesn't have a cutaway. Forget it might not have the prettiness of something else.
They're world-class guitars, though. They're world-class guitars. Used by world-class people all the time.
Yep. Play them. Just go out and play them. Go to your favorite guitar shop and play them.
And that being said, I don't need any more T-shirts, he says. Oh, wait. Tex has this trivia question. When did I buy my first Taylor guitar, and what was it? Tex is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tex. What is it? Tell us the answer.
A 314 CE in 1997.
That's a great guess.
314 CE in 1997. Is that right?
If that's accurate, I
What
don't know
did you
what
do with
win.
Mike? He said, "What did you do with Mike? Is traveling. He's traveling. He's doing business. He
I
wanted to
hear some
join,
muffled
but
noises in the back there, Jay. Is everything all right? You
Mike,
got
yeah,
Mike
Mike,
behind you in a
Mike's.
box.
Frank.
What
Yeah.
did you do with Mike?
Roger
Uh,
has
Keep
him
trying
tied
to
up
call his
somewhere.
dog Frank.
Tex, it was a 1974 Lemon Grove guitar. That would be awesome.
Oh.
Anyway,
Oh,
Tex,
cool.
you'll have to let us know what it was.
Oh, he says it was a 614 CE.
I love when they check us.
Oh, it's so good. I love
It
that.
was a test. It was a test.
2015, 614 CE.
Nice.
Awesome, Tex. All right, guys. You guys are great. Thank you for joining us. Hang out next time. We'll see you next week with a guest. Because again, we had some scheduling snafus. It was my
Jay,
fault.
thanks for letting me crash the show.
Rich, you're welcome anytime to crash the show. It's always fun to have you on. All right, everybody. Have a good evening. What time was it? It was prime time.
Prime time.
Peace
See
out.
you, nerds.
See you, nerds.
Talking dogs. Remember, talking